Hello, hello. Did anybody except me miss the bopping? I mean, it feels like it's been a while. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cut the Shit, Cue the Genius. Michelle Bruno. Liz is on site at an event, I believe, in New Orleans. So I hope she's having some beignets. And we have the wonderful Marisa Cali with us, and I'm going to have you introduce yourself before we dive into one of, I think, the most creative sessions that we're going to be having on the Cut the Shit. So, Marisa, tell everybody all about you in like 60 seconds.
Okay. Hi, my name is Marisa Cali. I am a virtual event producer. So this is my wheelhouse. I love being on actually behind the scenes. So this is interesting to be in front of the camera. My background's in digital marketing. I've done pretty much all the things for about 9 years. And most recently joined the Dahlia Plus team to do on-site activations and get to hug and connect with people in person. So I'm happy to be here. And one of the things that I love is black coffee. So I'm having my iced coffee right now, and happy show. Thank you for having me.
Bruno, you're still a tea drinker, right?
I am. And actually, I'm doing a diet green tea, pineapple mango.
Oh, that sounds heaven.
Yeah.
Heaven. All right. So I know people are gonna keep trickling in, but so this topic came around because Marisa and we were like cutting the shit on Slack, and we were talking about different events that we've been at, etc. And I think also this was spurred by Freeman's trend report, where exhibitors and attendees shared what they want to see more of at events. And I think we all want this in some shape or form, where we played the what if game. And what if you take traditional shows, conferences, and right now, I think people are really wanting to see something new, interactive, where they call it a playground, call it a lab, call it the genius bar, like at an Apple store. But what if at the conferences, you are taking the traditional ways of educating, the traditional ways of demoing, hate to say it, but like the very boring traditional ways of how some exhibitors showcase what they are all about to attendees or even to partners. And we just turn that around. Jordan's here with Beyonce probably blaring in the background, but so we want to think a little bit different. So let's talk about some of the ideas before we dive into how to make it happen. So Marisa, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I know you all have been to shows where it's literally just rows and rows and rows of tables and candy and brochures. And
squeezy balls.
Yeah. Or pens or something. And I personally, unless there's someone at those booths or tables that is really about human connection, very rarely am I going to stop and talk to them, even if their signage looks great and they have cool colors on their thing. So what I'm seeing or what I'm looking for as an attendee, because I also go to a bunch of shows, is what can I get my hands on? What can I really learn by, like, I learn by doing. I can sit home and watch videos or put on YouTube and learn about things. So I go to shows to connect with people and actually really learn, and invest that time on a hotel, flight, whatever it is, to actually learn. And that's the way I learn. And so I think a lot of people are not, or are now switching towards that. I mean, we're seeing that a lot of people are integrating this into their strategy for events. But yeah, it's a new way. And the Freeman report definitely confirms that, at least in Q1 of this year.
Yep. Naomi. Hello, Naomi. Hugs and kisses. Morning. The Google XI Co Laboratory. That's a mouthful this morning, but I will take it. is a great example of this format for hands-on and participatory educational engagement. Absolutely true. And we've seen it at IMAX, and we've seen it at other shows. So let's talk about, because obviously there's a shift in mindset that we have to do here, right? So, for example, for sponsors and exhibitors, what kind of conversation can be had in regards to shift them? Oh, instead of a 10 by 20 or a 20 by 20, or maybe an exhibitor saying, I'm not coming anymore because it's not working for me.
Mhm.
What are the conversations that you think we can have?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Michelle.
Like with who? Conversations between whom?
With like the event organizer trying to design new ideas and the sponsor or exhibitor.
Okay. Yeah, I just clarified it for you.
Thank you, Michelle. So from an event organizer perspective, I think that we rely too much, or not me specifically, but we rely too much on the feedback survey and just take that and, okay, like the sentiment's good, cool, let's do the same thing next year. And what I'm hearing from like some of my clients who go to these trade shows is they are not able to compete with the big activations, right, where they have lights and things hanging from the ceiling, and it's not worth it for them to go to these shows. So my challenge for event organizers is to reach out to all the different spectrums of sponsors, potential sponsors, and see what would work for them. How can they get involved, whether it's not in a different way, right? It's not just like a booth, right? And how can they make it worth their while to come to a show and make those connections and do hands-on things? I think you learn a lot from human connection and conversations, and that could be a Zoom call, a phone call even.
Yeah.
I think the Zoom thing is like easy to do because we've done it for 4 years, but I think that, I mean, I drive in my car a lot and I talk to people on the phone. Dahlia, I know I've talked to you for 30 minutes and we got so much insight just from that, and really hearing what people have to say. And that's like a whole nother topic we can talk about connecting with people and really listening to each other. But that's one way an event organizer or event strategist can really get some insight into what's working for people.
Bruno, before the session, you had mentioned that it takes a lot to organize, or like it's a very different way of thinking. What do you think could be the obstacles, and how can we get over those?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, like, if it was my job to design experiences or labs or activations that were not necessarily related to the booths or anything else, like, where would I start? It used to irk me when I would go to a show that is about whatever software, and there's then someone selling jewelry or something. It would like bother my mind. And the rule of thumb as a former planner was, if you have a trade show, or you have a conference or whatever, kind of stick to the topic. So I sit here wondering how to make something exciting and of the moment and relevant to both the audience and the potential sponsor, but not deviate too far from the topic of the event or a theme or a value, like the XI co-laboratory or whatever that the organizers have, right? That was pre-established value that IMAX would, support neurodiverse people. So a lab like that kind of made sense because people were sort of prepped for that. But if I walk into an event and it's totally off topic and just like out there, I don't know how I would feel about that in terms of, as an attendee and also a potential designer of an experience like that. So my question for you guys really is it about the conversation, any conversation that is generated, and you can use any topic or theme or lab or whatever to do that? Or are we kind of, in a design sense, going towards something that is, at some level related to the conference or related to the audience or a theme? Or can we just like wing it and people are excited and we start talking? And
I think there needs to be a certain level of winging it and trial and error. I think this is where we need to get out of our comfort zone and out of our own way. But I think Jen answered your question 100%, which is it is what the audience wants first. And maybe we need to spend more time talking to them first. And if I know Jen, which I know Jen, the audience is then different type of audiences where it is your attendees, first timers, 10 timers, and it's also new sponsors, old sponsors, exhibitors. And I think Naomi and Jen are with us on this conversation, like 200%, where sponsors are usually quite receptive to reimagining the lounges, the networking lounges, or something more hands-on. So there needs to be a blend right now, where if it's an industry event, there's a theme, there's topics, there's industry tracks, for example, then figure out and co-design, co-create with your attendees, with your sponsors, what those like experiences look like. I'm going to stay away from the word lab at the moment because I don't want us to be pigeonholed in that. But I also think that there are plenty of tangents and value adds that you bring in to your audience, and you have to bring into your audience, whether it is like for the jewelry show, if it is anything that is interactive labs or about branding or about enterprise solutions for a mom and pop shop compared to a bigger, franchise, I don't know what, those type of topics don't do well only on screen with a fugly PowerPoint anymore. Like it will go against you wanting those attendees to come back and not dive into a YouTube channel and say, I'm not attending the show because of. So this is where I think it's a blend. I also think that a lot of event planners, or as well as sponsorship and biz dev teams, they stay away from those type of conversations because it's a hard sell if it's not something in the prospectus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think events overall have loosened up on activations being, so on topic that they're dull.
Yep.
I mean, who would have thought that like a DJ or something, would be part of a trade show booth? Thinking of the expo group, Dana,
or the MC, like DJ,
or like a
DJ is now the DJ and he's an MC.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, we've definitely opened our design traps and let some of that other stuff in, but I'm still kind of worried that, it's not just about doing some fun stuff. It has to be kind of still, even if it's a roundabout way, leading people back to thinking about the sponsor or thinking about, what's going on at that show and conference, and and it can be exciting. It doesn't have to be boring, Jen. But I'm just thinking, let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's what I'm trying to say.
I say full force. I don't know, Marisa, what you say. You can break this tie, but like not the tie, but like you can break this. I say move on full force with interactive. I would die. And Naomi and Jen, we gotta do this, is full on playground style of an event. No booths, no 10 by 10s, and no boring, fugly demos on screens where we can test drive all the shit on our own.
You would die of happiness, or you would just die?
I would die of. It would be happy tears going
All
down.
right. Okay.
Happy tears. Marisa, what about you?
I think there can be a happy medium between the both, but I am more leaning towards you, Dahlia, just because my life is behind the screen, behind a computer, and so when I go to an event, I need human connection. I need stuff to do because I can sit behind a computer and watch someone's expertise and listen to a podcast, all of that.
Yep.
But I'm with you, Michelle, also at the same time, because if it's an industry that I need to learn about, or there's something that I know that it's going to cover a topic that I am unfamiliar about, I want to learn there. But is that learning sitting in a 90-minute presentation? No, it's not that anymore. Right. So it's like, there's got to be some wiggle room on what the learning is, but also the interactivity that Dahlia mentions.
So what are some good examples?
Yeah.
Well, I would say from the sessions, I would say definitely shorter sessions.
Mhm.
If I see an agenda that has, packed from 8 a.m. to 4 with sessions the whole time and multiple tracks, I think you're doing a disservice to your attendees, because now people have to choose what's more important to them. And oftentimes they're not going to revisit that topic, or it's not going to be available to them later. And maybe it is. Then you imagine the event after the fact or before the fact. For interactivity on site, I would say, there's a lot of different options, but I just was at a show and they had, this it was like a petting zoo with dogs and alpacas. And okay, it was an urban planning show. Like, okay, like it's not a.
See,
No.
you're proving my point.
But it's also a neighborhood talk,
enjoyable.
right? So you're like hanging out in the neighborhood with your fellow
Alpacas.
planners. Yeah.
How many neighborhoods have alpacas? Just tell me.
I didn't get to see the alpacas, but I saw the sign for dogs and I was like, yeah, I want to go pet the dogs. And that was in that sense, I would have maybe used it as a networking opportunity if that was my intended
So I can see how dog petting is a sort of a wellness sort of activity, but how many good conversations do you have petting a dog? Does the dog say anything? Or do you talk to the dog?
Well, they talk. Yes, they
Okay.
talk to us, Michelle.
Right.
Well, I want to have a
dog language. They have
but,
their own language.
Yeah. I don't know about the alpacas. I think that probably is a selfie moment. So we can put the alpacas and, no pun intended, park them and their bites, as Naomi says, on the side. But that is it. This is not what we mean by an interactive experience. I think. No. But if you look at some of the topics that really do well or resonate well, and it depends on the industries, but let's look at medical and healthcare. With all the new equipment that comes out or new technologies, and Bobby Hurd and his team at ASEP, emergency physicians, they do great with, for example, their innovation hub, where you are actually almost like in an operation room or in an emergency room, and the technology companies that are the startup or the exhibitors there are showcasing something in a different way, and it's hands-on. You look at, for example, AVMA, which is Veterinary Medicine Association, and they do the same exact thing. They have a digital district, and it's almost like a mini digital playground, if you will. They have sessions in the, there as well, but it's the same with like construction. So AEM, Equipment Manufacturing, out of Milwaukee, and then you have Pave Expo, which is a new show with ACBM. It's all about construction. It's all about paving. Pavex. Yeah. Where people are on the machines. They even turn it into a competition of some kind, which is kind of cool. But there's ways of teaching during showing, or like that you're actually using the machines. And we've been seeing it. So yes, shameless plug, in our AI labs where we're doing it, and Marisa was part of this, where our AI labs that we do in conferences are Genius Bar style, like in an Apple store, but it's hands-on. You do a disservice to your attendees if, for example, you're talking about AI or you're talking about tech or you're talking about productivity and it's all theory and a bunch of bullet points on a slide, and not having them dive into, stations or self-driving, on how to use ChatGPT themselves. That there's ways where you're going to have to get across from there, from just presentation to doing. And that link makes the content stick more within the brain. And it was the same at Event Tech Live. Most of the tech companies, they were driving their own demos. I think that's a missed opportunity right there.
Well, what if you don't know the software? Like, how can you drive your own demo?
You can drive it if someone is next to you from the exhibitor.
Okay, push that button and then slide that over, and like that kind of driving, like just telling them what to do.
It depends on the software.
Yeah.
But I mean, Marisa, would you like to dive into a platform yourself, or do you want someone to show it for you? Depending on the software.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely, I would want to play around with it myself. Even, I mean, I don't know how many free trials I've signed up for, like, over the years. Just, I could watch a video, but I need to know how to do it because I eventually may work with a client on it or tell them how to do it. So for me, I need to actually do, and a lot of times it's blocked by paid subscriptions, or and why are we doing that? I get it that, like, you want to make money on these things, but if you have fans of your tools and people that can advocate for your software or your tools, like, why wouldn't you want to let them show it off?
Well, I loved your idea that we talked about a little bit about the show, creating a piece of content that they could then take home with them or watch after the fact that builds on whatever the activation they had. And that might solve the problem, Dahlia, of someone coming up to an activation, not really understanding, and that someone would probably be me, not really understanding like what's going on or how I would interact with this thing. But someone guides me through, a very short tutorial, and then I can go home and I automatically have something that I can play with if I was really interested. Because I don't know if the other thing is people are, they don't want to come up to a booth and then have a salesperson glom onto them for a 30-minute demo.
Mm-hmm.
So they're always really, reticent and hesitant, I should say.
That's what the hostage buyer program is about.
Yeah.
Dubbing it the hostage buyer program.
Yeah.
So that is definitely the hostage buyer program approach at the moment. Like you are buying them for that. Well, it's actually, Bruno, it's 25 minutes because they need 5 minutes to run from one hostage buyer appointment to another.
Okay.
I have a point to you. I guess I'm going to call you Bruno now. I keep saying you Michelle, but you're Bruno. Okay.
That is my name. That is.
Yes.
You can go there.
We're on a nickname basis now. Okay.
My husband loves it, when Dahlia calls me Bruno. He's like, hey, free advertising. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So I had left the show and I was, talking about your point about taking something home. Left the show, it was done. I was at the airport talking to someone in TSA. We were talking about what, why the line was going too slow. Struck up a conversation. She ends up needing potential help with her LinkedIn profile, and we were doing that at the show.
Wait, the TSA agent?
No, TSA.
No,
we were in line. We were in line. Yeah. She was right behind me, and I was talking about what we were doing, and like she literally said, I need to connect with you because I want to watch your stuff that you have about this. And I was like, I don't have a LinkedIn like video. And Dahlia, this is something we should talk about, like having in the deck or something, because that woman was read because of our human connection and kind of bitching about the TSA line going slow. She was wanting to connect and learn from me after she learned of what we were doing. So, I mean, that's not a hands-on thing, but it's saying like this content is also wanting to be consumed after the show, in different areas when you talk about it. So yeah, I mean, that's just another example of people. She would have probably looked at the video if I had it readily available, just like say, okay, this is
pull out your phone. You're like, here's the video. Give me your email.
Like let me pull up your LinkedIn profile
and like in the Starbucks line and is like connecting everyone's LinkedIn's.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. I mean, here's the thing, and I think this is what we also spoke about. There is a huge way where we are able to engage on an interactive level before and after the show. And so this also is not only for the attendees, it's also for the exhibitors and also for exhibit personnel, booth personnel, and sponsor personnel, especially if they're new. I've been to a lot of shows where there's new teams always because of the turnover that are at a show and they're like, don't know how to navigate, don't know what these people are about. They might have gotten in an email the night before, opened it the day of, kind of thing. And this goes back to, we really do need to reassess who the audience is, what their needs are, what they want, what their goals are. It sounds very basic, but I tell you, sometimes it doesn't even resonate or it doesn't get to the exhibit booth personnel. And there's a lot of chatter from our geniuses in the comments about sales and about sales enablement. And this is the biggest obstacle at the moment, is because you are going to need to rewire how the sales team on the exhibit, on the event organizer side, but also on the exhibit and sponsor teams, on how they should be having a conversation with the event participants. It's not all going to be the same. The enablement and the tools that they need, the scripts that they need, is going to be totally different. It's all about the why, not about the how, not about the icons. It's totally different. And to be very honest, it might take people way out of their comfort zone. And it goes back to what Jen was saying, where it's like, why are we doing the shows as we do them? Yes, you're right. We've said it before. Scrap the playbooks. What if your show that had, before the Corona coaster, 1,000 booths or 1,000 exhibitors comes back, and all of a sudden it's dwindling. The exhibitors decided they're going to do their own thing, or they're going to do their own shows and all of this. How do you bring it back to a design that is a playground, that is interactive, and is based on a different playbook?
But yet somewhat cohesive.
Well, of course it has to be cohesive. That's not the point. The point is the players are going to have to change. Mm-hmm. And it ultimately might be that your new cohesive theme or event or experience is totally for a different audience. It's totally for different exhibitors altogether. Let the ones that want to show the demos have their event on YouTube, but turn it into a revenue opportunity, and have that YouTube channel within your organization. Mm-hmm. But Jordan, I don't remember what I said in Event Live anymore. But what I'm saying is, we need to go back to what everybody in the chat is talking about. And this is the moment where everybody's like, oh, but that's a lot of work. Do we really need to go back to like a white piece of paper? Fuck. Yes, you do. Scrap everything that you've done. Bring in new players to help you design something spectacular and new, maybe not as big as you had it before, but yes, you do have to redesign.
I'm just thinking of
And what happens if you piss off the people that have been coming and been supporting, and then they stop sponsoring your event? What happens, Dahlia? How would you approach that?
You listen to what they need. And a lot of times they don't know what they need. And we know this for a fact.
Mhm.
But you listen to what they need, and your assets and what you're offering to them might not even be event related anymore. I have a pet peeve where there are organizations where they still think that for you to be a sponsor, you need to be an exhibitor, and that if you want to have access to their database or to their attendees or insights from the people you're bringing together, that they need to have some profound type of existence within your event. So what if Microsoft comes in and you have a brand new show and you're bringing in 250 people that have an amazing insight for something that they're working on in the future, and you say, I'm going to bring them together, just even 25 in a room. I'm going to give them mimosas and Haagen-Dazs. That is a dream of mine. I want champagne and ice cream in one, and just bring us event profs around a round table. Like Jen, Naomi, tell me that you wouldn't be with me on that round table. And you're going to pick their brains, and Marissa and Bruno, we're going to bring in the Lipton tea.
I do not adulterate my Prosecco with.
Oh my God, let's do this. And all of a sudden, Microsoft, you go to Microsoft, you're going to say, you're going to get 25 kick-ass event profs in one room that are going to be on Haagen-Dazs, their favorite flavor, and on champagne. You get to ask them questions for 45 minutes. You pay us $20 million. Pay us $35,000. You don't think they're going to do it?
Yeah.
Jen is in.
Yeah.
Naomi has to drop, but she's probably in. But what I'm saying is, there we go. You need to think differently about stuff. And I think the interactive labs, and I think the hands-on, if you actually go to your exhibitors and those that have demos, imagine if IMAX went to all of those in the tech area and the C-events of the area and say, guess what? We're scratching all your demos. You're going to have to do something different. They're going to fugly cry for a minute, and then they're going to think of something creative, and then it's going to be a holy shit moment for their attendees.
Instead of your demo, you must write a haiku poem about your software.
I'm going to use AI. I'm ChatGPT.
And then I will pitch you while you pet my llama.
Alpaca, Bruno.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or my puppy or my goat.
So I think what are the points that we have to leave with? Are we recreating?
Yeah.
Are we sticking to old, same old?
I think it's happening anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not fast enough.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And guess what? We got to be super fast this in the next couple of years. You're going to see a lot of reinvention, new designs of exactly what we're talking about right now. Mm-hmm. And we can't, like, these organizations that have done it same old, they can't say, oh, it's taken us by surprise. No, it hasn't. So, Marissa, any final thoughts that you want to share?
Oh, I love this conversation. I love talking about new, innovative things. I think we're lucky to be at the forefront of this conversation and really see the data's there. People want data. They want to see what attendees want. The report's there that can support us. I continue to have these conversations. I love that champagne and Haagen-Dazs idea. Even if we do that as a virtual event, what? Might as well, right? Can't get everyone into the same room all the time, but
that's a DoorDash moment. Jordan, I think that's a good opportunity.
Tracy Stuckerath is probably like having a fit.
I mean, how many times?
Sticks? Does it have to be something full of sugar?
Bruno, for Tracy's sake, we can add in strawberries or berries to the
Yeah,
champagne.
okay.
We're good. We're good. She's gonna be good. She's gonna be so good with this. Or even keto ice cream. So we're good.
Marisa looks so much like Liz
Yeah.
that maybe you could step in when Liz is away.
Okay.
How about that?
Awesome.
All right. Marisa, thank you so much for being our guest. And we are, just for everybody to know, we are slowly transitioning the Cut the Shit show to every other week. So our next session is going to be with Jordan Arnold from Ring Central on May 23rd. And you will see postings about that very, very soon. Thank you, everybody, our geniuses, for being with us. Please subscribe and turn your notification bell on the YouTube channel. And if you have any ideas, pet peeves, or anything you want to cut the shit about or cut the frills, please let us know. More than happy to have you on the show. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. Ciao.
Bye.